Good morning, Blue Jay friends, and thanks for being here. This is Blue Jays versus Them, and I'm your host, Jerry Schwinnard. If you're new here, welcome to the show. For my returning listeners, welcome back. Whether you found this podcast by the link I post to Facebook or on Twitter, or whatever podcast provider you listen from, I want to thank you for tuning in. You can also find me at the website at www.bluejaysversusthem.ca. That's bluejaysvsthem.ca. You can also find my social media links on the website. Here are a few things we'll cover in this episode. We'll review the series versus the New York Yankees and versus the Chicago White Sox. Take a look back at the last 10 games, the 50-50 prizes for the remaining series versus the Seattle Mariners. We'll continue our journey from 2004 looking for our missing home games. I'll preview the series and our history with our expansion cousins, the Seattle Mariners. Have a look at our 4-game series at Fenway next week versus the Boston Red Sox. And as always, I'll wrap up this week's episode with some closing remarks. Last week, in giving my predictions, I offered some history on how we did at Yankee Stadium overall and in the short term, since 2017. Well, my numbers as far as games played, wins, and losses are concerned are correct. I stand by those. It was my math that was wrong. I gave an overall win percentage at Yankee Stadium at being only .236 and even worse since 2017 at .231. Here are the correct numbers. We played a total of 350 games at Yankee Stadium and have only won 148 games, losing 202 games for the correct winning percentage of .423. Since 2017, the Blue Jays have played 51 games in Yankee Stadium, losing 29 times and only winning 22 for a correct winning percentage of .431. Slightly better than the overall win percentage at Yankee Stadium. I'm sorry for my error. I'll try to be more careful in the future. My predictions, luckily enough, were not based on my erroneous winning percentages, but on the wins and loss numbers, which did suggest losing 2 of the 3 games, but I liked our pitching matchups in the series. As it turned out, we took 2 of the 3 and handed the Bronx Bombers their first series loss of 2023. How did we get there? The Game 1 matchup was between Yusei Kikuchi and Domingo Germain. Both pitched 6 complete innings. Kikuchi only allowed 1 run on 4 hits, including 1 home run. He also walked 2 and struck out 3 to earn his 3rd win of the season. Germain gave up 4 runs on 5 hits, including 2 RBI home runs to Guerrero, his 4th, and Brandon Belt got his first homer of the season. He also went 2 for 4 on the day with 4 RBIs. Things got a little tense when Vladdy got hit by a pitch in the top of the 9th. Ultimately, nothing came of it. The final score, Blue Jays take Game 1 6-1 on 8 hits. The Yankees only got 5 hits. Germain took the loss. Speculation for this game after Vladdy was hit by a pitch in the 9th inning the day before was pretty high. The public animosity between the 2 starters, Alek Manoah and Garrett Cole, is well documented, as is Manoah's propensity of hitting batters. Ultimately, nothing happened. Cole pitched 5 2/3 scoreless innings, giving up only 4 hits. He hit Santiago Espinal on the hand, who was forced to leave the game. Luckily, x-rays were negative. He also gave up 2 walks and struck out 4. Manoah pitched 7 scoreless, striking out 5, walking only 1, and only allowing 2 hits. Jimmy Garcia gave up a 2-run homer in the 8th, and Danny Jansen tied it up in the top of the 9th. Romano came in for a non-save opportunity and gave up 3 hits, including the walk-off hit for the Yankees to win 3-2. I have all the faith in Jordan Romano, but I think it was a mistake to bring him in. Save him for a save situation and bring in one of your other high-leverage pitchers. Ultimately, the Jays lost because they were 0-9 with runners in scoring position. The final score, the Yankees won 3-2. Both teams had 7 hits, including 1 home run each. The Blue Jays had Kevin Gausman against Clark Schmidt for the rubber match on Sunday. Both pitchers were scoreless through 5, Schmidt probably having a career game until the 6th inning. Guerrero came to the plate with 2 out and a runner on. Then he hit a line drive over the fence. Dalton Varsho followed up with his second to make it 3-0. Schmidt took the loss after pitching 5 2/3, giving up 3 runs on 3 hits. with 1 walk, striking out 8 batters. Gosman was just a little bit better, pitching 7 scoreless, giving up only 3 hits, and striking out 11 with no walks. The Blue Jays handed the Yankees their first series loss of the season, making them the only team to win series versus Tampa Bay and the Yankees so far. The final score was Toronto won 5-1. Both teams had 6 hits. We will host the Yankees for 4 games starting May 15th. Last week I predicted the Blue Jays would take 2 of the 3 games versus the White Sox, with a good possibility for a sweep. The Blue Jays sent Chris Bassitt up against Lance Lynn for the series opener. Chris pitched into the 7th inning when he called for the manager and the trainer to the mound. He left the game with lower back tightness. Zach Pop came into the game with an inherited runner and batter. Before leaving the game, Bassitt had only allowed 2 runs back in the 3rd on 3 hits, striking out 4 batters. He also gave up 4 walks in his 6 1/3 innings. The Blue Jays got 4 runs in the 4th inning, 3 on a Biggio homer after an RBI double by Merrifield. The final score, Blue Jays win 5-2, out-hitting the White Sox 8-3. Bassitt earned his 3rd win, and Lynn was tagged for the loss. Jordan Romano earned his 8th save. Jose Barrios got the start for the 2nd game against Mike Clevenger. Barrios pitched spectacularly, going 7 innings, only allowing 4 hits and 1 walk, striking out 9 batters. Danny Jansen went 3 for 4, including a 3-run homer in the 3rd inning and a solo shot to lead off the 6th. Springer also went 3 for 4 with an RBI. The final score, Blue Jays take Game 2, shutting out Chicago 7-0, out-hitting the White Sox 10-4. Kikuchi wrapped up the series against Michael Kopech yesterday afternoon and was looking to go a perfect 4-0 on the season. Kikuchi pitched 5 2/3 scoreless innings, only allowing 4 hits and 1 walk, and striking out 8. George Springer was hit in the hand in the 3rd inning, although he would stay in the game until the next inning, when Kevin Biggio would come in as a pinch hitter. Bo Bichette went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, including his 5th home run of the season in the 7th inning. Both Chapman and Varsho were also hit by pitches. Santiago Espinal also made his return to the lineup after getting hit in New York and went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs. The final score, the Blue Jays sweep the White Sox, winning 8-0, out-hitting the Sox 11-4. They improved their record to 16-9 on the season. The Blue Jays will be in Chicago to face the White Sox for a 3-game series beginning on the 4th of July. I mentioned last week doing a 10-game recap for the 20-game mark of the season. Game 20 was our first game versus the Yankees. I mostly did the first 10 games to mark off the 10-game road trip to start the season. Since going 6-4 to start the season, the Jays went 4-2 for the first homestand and 2-2 in the games to start the 6 games on the road to round out the last 10 games. So, at the end of 20 games, the Blue Jays had a record of 12-8 or 6-4 in their second 10 games. After completing the series versus the Yankees and the White Sox, the Jays are now 16-9 on the season. Last week I provided the prizes for the second homestand, and since we still have the weekend series versus the Mariners, I'll remind everyone the remaining prizes. Friday, April 28th, the Jose Bautista signed bat flip poster. On Saturday, April 29th, another $10,000 cash prize. And on Sunday, April 30th, the April homestand jackpot. Last week, I reported the jackpot to be at $936,155. So far, as of this recording, the value of the jackpot is at $1,437,565. By the end of the homestand, this jackpot will be over $2 million. Easily. I'm going to make a conservative prediction. This jackpot hits $2.4 million. The winning number for the grand prize jackpot will be announced at noon Eastern on Monday, May 1st on JScare's social media channels and jscare.com. I'll leave a link in the description. In going through the history of the Blue Jays looking for our missing home games, we left off last week heading into the 2004 season with an extra home game. At the end of the 2003 season, Toronto had played 4,253 total games, with 2,127 games at home as opposed to the 2,126 games on the road. Once again, the Blue Jays played 1 game short of a regular season for 2004 with only 161 games. Where would the shortage take place? We played all 81 of our games at home, leaving only 80 games on the road. We now had an extra 2 games at home as a franchise. Things stayed that way until the 2010 season. At the end of the 2009 season, the Blue Jays franchise had played a total of 5,224 games. Of those games, 2,613 of them had been played in Toronto and 2,611 on the road. Somehow, for the 2004 season, we played only 78 games at home, leaving 84 games to be played away from Toronto. That's 6 games! Okay, if 3 of those 6 games were played in Toronto, things even out and we maintain a 2 home game surplus. Instead, we finish off 2010 with a 3-game deficit. You might be asking, well, what happened? Why so many road games? I can't tell you the whys. I can tell you where, or at least the whereabout. Looking at the season, we played the Angels 3 times at home and 6 in LA. Except this was offset by playing the Rangers 10 times, hosting 7 of them, and going to Arlington for only 3. Nothing jumps out at the schedule for the rest of the American League teams, but things do look askew for the interleague matchups. 2010 was a season when our divisionary matchup was the NL West, yet we played 3 games in Philly, our natural rival. Then, for some reason, we don't host any games against Philly, but instead host the St. Louis Cardinals for 3 games, thus bringing balance back to the force. Looking at the 5 teams in the NL West, we didn't even play the Dodgers, yet we played 6 games in Anaheim, but I digress. Not playing the Dodgers should be an opportunity to evenly split the 4 teams by hosting 2 and visiting 2. Nope, for whatever reason, we went to Arizona, Colorado, and San Diego for 3 games each, while only hosting the Giants for 3 games. This is how things would stay until, dun dun dun, the COVID-shortened season of 2020. And that's where I'll leave you, because explaining how that season should have been an easy model to keep balanced, and yet it was far from it. The Blue Jays will wrap up their homestand against our expansion cousins, the Seattle Mariners. Now, I've always felt the sort of kinship towards that team, the hard-luck sibling that never got crowned king at the big dance, the team that hosts our second home for the fans that come down from Vancouver because it's closer for them. After the way the Blue Jays collapsed in last season's wildcard series, I just want Toronto to sweep these 3 games. What's the history between us? More specifically, us hosting Seattle? We've played our expansion cousins 419 times and won 217 games, losing only 202 times overall. That's only a .518 win percentage. How have we fared at home? Well, we've hosted the Seattle Mariners a total of 213 times and have managed to win 116, losing 97 times or .545 win percentage. Since 2017, we've hosted the Mariners 16 times in the regular season and have won 9 times, losing 7. Looking only at last season, there is a cause for concern. In the 7 games in 2022, the first 3 games were at home, and we did win the series by winning the first 2 games. We were swept in the 4 games in Seattle. Including the wildcard series, Seattle has won the last 7 games we played, and 7 of the last 9, 3 of the last 5 in our house. Our pitchers have been on a roll for the last 7 or 8 games. Alek Manoah is scheduled to start on Friday and had a great outing in the Bronx. Kevin Gausman should start Game 2 on Saturday, with Chris Bassett taking the hill for the series finale. I will predict a series win going 2 of 3. A couple of reminders to close out this homestand before I go talking about the series in Boston. First, the 50-50 draw. Don't forget to get those tickets. Then there's the promotional schedule. On Friday is the George Springer New Blue replica jersey for the first 15,000 fans. On Saturday is a specialty ticket for Sesame Street Day. Specialty tickets include a Blue Jays Elmo bobblehead. I'm not sure how the specialty tickets work, so if you know, I'd appreciate it if you let me know. And finally, on Sunday is the first Junior Jays Day for the season. You should note, there is a change for the kids 14 and under running the bases. You now need to pre-register for a time slot. On Monday, the Blue Jays begin a 9-game road trip starting with 4 in Fenway Park. I know this segment's going to put a smile on my best buddy's face. He's probably smiling already. No team scares me more than Boston. Yes, we were 16-3 last season. Do you know how many of those we've had? Only 2. In 88 we were 11-2 and 10-3 in 93. Before 2022, the Jays had played 683 games versus the Red Sox, only winning 304 and losing 379. That's a winning percentage of .445, or a remarkable 75. Let me say that again. 75 games below 500. After last season, we improved our win percentage from 445 to 456, decreasing our games below 500 to only 62. So how have we fared in Fenway? Since 1977, we have played in the cozy confines of the league's oldest and most iconic ballpark a total of 354 times, losing 188 times and winning only 166, giving the Blue Jays a 469 win percentage. Since 2017, things have gotten better, especially after last season. After a total of 56 games played, the Blue Jays have managed to win 27 while only losing 29 times. I already mentioned the 2022 season, but we did play 9 of the 19 games against the Red Sox last year in Fenway Park, losing only once. Our projected starting pitchers would be Jose Barrios, Yusei Kikuchi, Alek Manoah, and Kevin Gausman would close out the series next Thursday. The Bull Sox are currently 500 with a 13-13 record. I'm going to predict a safe 3-1 series win. They're still not a very good team. Perhaps not as bad as predicted at the beginning of the season though. That should do it for this episode. Join me next Thursday as we look back at our weekend series versus the Seattle Mariners and our 4 games at Fenway. The Jackpot for April will have a winner and I'll provide the final value and, if available, the early bird prizes for May. We will conclude our journey through Blue Jays history by resuming with the 2020 season and preview our weekend series versus the surprisingly good Pittsburgh Pirates and 2-game series versus the Phillies to wrap up our 9-game road trip. If you've enjoyed listening to me and found it interesting, then let me know by reacting to the post I leave on either Twitter or Facebook, or leave a comment, retweet, and share. I guess if you didn't like it, you can let me know that too. I know I ask this every week, but it really does help bring awareness to the podcast, and it does help me out a great deal. If you listen to the show on a podcast provider, why not subscribe so you don't miss an episode? And you can give the show a review. As always, I've been your humble host, Jerry Schwinard, and you've been listening to Blue Jays vs. Them. Once again, I want to thank you for spending your time with me. Join me next Thursday and every Thursday of the regular season. Until then, take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and let's go Blue Jays. Let's go. Bye for now.